What's up, everyone? Welcome back to this 11th episode of Draft Day Dynasties. Crazy to think that we've done that many already. I'm C. Jackson Cowart, the community manager here at Wolverine Studios, and I appreciate you joining us once again for our weekly streaming series showing off Draft Day Sports College Basketball 2022 and all the latest releases at Wolverine Studios. If you're new to this and you haven't seen any of the previous 10 episodes, you can catch up on all of those on our YouTube channel, or you can catch up live every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the official Wolverine Studios Twitch channel, like most of you here are joining us on. So in this episode, we'll continue our quest to build a powerhouse in Hawaii with our second recruiting class. The first one, I wasn't necessarily thrilled with the way it went, so hopefully we can do a little better this second time around. It's shaping up to be a bit more promising than the first one, despite some budgetary constraints. We'll get into that a little more in just a bit. Speaking of that last episode, it seemed like the feedback was pretty positive from you guys, from the community, about it running a little bit longer than the previous episodes had. So I think we'll keep it up this time around and hopefully finish up around the 45-minute to an hour mark. So if you're watching this live, you can plan around that. Another bit longer episode, and we'll see if that one goes well as well. Then we'll probably keep doing it just like that. But being on here for that long, it can get a little bit lonely recruiting into the void. So if you're joining us live on Twitch, hello. Go ahead and say hello back in the chat. Let us know what you think about our recruiting board, who we should target, or just any thoughts you have about the stream, the game, or Wolverine Studios in general. So without further ado, let's just hop right into the game here. So let's go to the recruiting screen. Just to recap last episode, if you weren't watching, we filled out our entire recruiting board for this second offseason of Hawaii. We initiated some contact with some top-level recruits, and as you can see here, the number one guy in the West, we are cool. He's cool on us, rather. We are a little more than cool on him, but unfortunately, if you were watching last week, you know that he said some things that were a little bit troubling, made me think that maybe Hawaii is not going to be in the cards for him. So we are initiating, though, some interest from guys like that, guys like Bob Young, Kareem, he who should not be pronounced, because I have no idea how to say that last name. But we're getting a little bit down the road here with Hawaii. We're getting some interest on some guys that I wasn't quite sure if we were going to. Doesn't mean anything yet, but hopefully we can convert some of these guys. So we already got someone in the chat here. Bree says, playing some PB21. I hope your beef with Jordan doesn't get passed to me. I'd rather see it go out of bounds. So that's a reference for those of you if you haven't been from the beginning. Mike Jordan was the greatest recruit that I've ever seen in my life. I don't know how else to put it. He was somebody that I was ready to build a team around, maybe name my first kid after, but unfortunately he decided to take his talents to Provo. We don't want that to happen again this year. We don't want to lose somebody like that, like a Mike Jordan. So hopefully we can seal the deal here. So appreciate you, Breeze, hopping in the chat. And Bill Dozer, another friend of the program here, a common stream chatter. Appreciate you being here, Bill. Bill says, recruit anyone who is decent or better at the Vegas summer camp. That is an excellent transition because that is exactly what we're going to try to do here. So you see right here, we've already filled out the board from last week. We decided to wait to sim until this week just to get a little drama on the stream. So I don't think we really need to check anything here. We can check our emails just out of habit. But I think we're going to go ahead and sim here in just a minute and see the results of these camps. So we do have a few campus visits that we've done, and we can kind of check on how those went. Sean Stewart thought it was a cool visit. Langston Burris thought it was a cool visit. And Cortland Dyer thought it was a cool visit. That, if you've been watching from the beginning, you know that is not typically how our campus visits go. But we did invest a little bit more into our recruiting coach this summer. I feel pretty good about the staff that we've built here at Hawaii for year two. So maybe that's why. Maybe that makes the difference. So national camps, getting ready to go. That sounds good to me. So we'll sim here. Last week, I think it was last week that we set those, or maybe the week before, but we did not attend any of the national camps. That was not in our budget this year. We bought the gold report, and gold doesn't come cheap these days. So we are just going to the Las Vegas review. But let's see. Let's see if there's anything we can learn from this recap. This is something where if you don't go to these camps, don't just assume, well, there's nothing I can learn. Those camps are over my head. You are going to get an email with a recap from these camps, and it's absolutely worth reading. Now, it's only going to tell you the all-camp honors, but that's fine, right? We can learn a little bit from that. That's free information. So if we check in here, there's only one guy in the West, and it's our friend Matt Taylor, who if you remember from last week, we called him. We tried to learn a little bit about him, and unfortunately we learned school prestige is number one for him, and conference prestige is also number one for him. So that's not a great sign for Hawaii. No, we're not particularly high in either of these two areas. So I don't think we're going to invest too much time in Matt Taylor, even though, we are on his radar, and that's an absolute blessing to be on the radar of somebody this good. But don't think we're going to be able to seal the deal here, so we'll probably leave him alone. But that's just further confirmation that Matt Taylor is who we thought he was. So scroll past Indy here and look at the East Coast Jam. See if there's anybody in our area. So Marco Stone King. And look at that. Our man Kareem something. I might need a little help in the chat here. Maybe if any of you guys are phonetics experts. Is that? I can't even pronounce the word for pronouncing words. Any linguistics experts out here? How do we pronounce this name? I'm just going to call him Kareem for now. But our boy from Honolulu, top 5 at the East Coast Jam. You love to see it. You love to see that. And then you have Marco Stone King here from Arizona, technically in our region. He's a 3-star guy, so that's interesting to see that he's regarded so highly in the camps, even though he's just a 3-star by WSSN. He's actually worse by the magazine. This is somebody that maybe we could keep on our radar. Maybe this is someone we should clear a spot for. So keep that in mind, all right? We're going to come back here and take a look at Marco Stone King. And then going to the last camp, the Georgia Superstar, my personal favorite camp, but maybe not the biggest bang for your buck. And look at that, another Hawaiian, Aaron Mueller. He's on our list already, but that is huge, huge news that we have a top-performing national camper in the state of Hawaii. Now, it is the worst camp of the national camps, of the 3. It's the Georgia Superstar. Mike Jordan wasn't competing in the Georgia Superstar camp. Let's just put it that way. But it is nice to see that there's some in-state talent performing well. And Ronald Graves. Ronald Graves is not somebody that we have on our list. He's out of Washington. Washington's his number 1 school. He's a center. We've already made it very clear we don't need centers. So, and not a great passing center at that. So maybe he's not somebody that we want to necessarily focus on. But let's go back to our recruiting board here for a minute, and let's clear off some spots, because there is at least one guy that we should definitely consider adding, and that's Marco Stone King. So our call list is at 50 right now. Let's just go ahead and do, we got our watch list. View them by premium report. Let's just go all regions just to get everybody on here. Let's go to the very end. And look, it's tough to cut somebody right off the bat. So maybe let's sort by something terrible, right? Let's sort by, everybody knows we like to pass at Hawaii. So is there anybody who's never passed? Yeah, Lamont Ferguson has never passed the ball. Now, I know he's out of Hawaii, but, well, and we are number 2 to him. So that is interesting. But I still don't know if this is going to be worth our efforts to try to recruit this guy when he's quite literally never passed the ball in high school. So maybe we come back to him. Maybe we leave him there for a second. We look at Cortez Jacobson. We see we're not on Cortez Jacobson's top 10. He's not a good passer. Very little interest in coming to our school. Let's just go ahead and drop Cortez Jacobson. And that clears up a spot now for us to go back to our email and check this list. And I love that this is hyperlinked the way it is, so we can just go right to Marco Stone King and just add him to the call list and add him to the watch list, just like that. Now, we have a bit more of a decision to make on whether we want to add somebody like Ronald Graves. He is technically in our area, in the West region, but, he's high on Washington, he's high on Spokane. Clearly, region means something to him because every single school here in the top 6 is in his West region. So, center is just really not something that we need to prioritize. I said it from the beginning here that probably should not spend a lot of time recruiting centers, and here I am. Hard not to take a hard look at someone when they're averaging 16 and 11 or 16 and 10 or whatever he was averaging. But I think we're just going to have to stick to it here. Because if you look at our team needs, yeah, we got Marcus Floyd, we got Mauro Morrissey, we got Charity, we got Thompson, but, we have some serious needs at point guard, and we have some serious needs on the wing. So, I think let's just stick to it now. Well, you know what? I take it back. We're talking about an elite camper here. Let's just find one other guy that we don't like, but let's remember not to put too much emphasis, too much focus on this center, because it will come back to bite us if we do. So, all right, any other? Brian Reed. I mean, look, he's a Hawaii kid, but he's averaging less than 10 minutes a game, and he's not passing. He's good on the defensive end. That's tough. That's tough. A kid like that, not even in the top 10. You got to think we'll get there eventually, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm really seeing it with him. Looks like Brian Reed is among our least interesting options here. And then Keith Bennett has no interest in us. So that's something to know. Maybe let's take... Gosh, it's tough. You get so attached to all these guys. You don't really want to lose any of them. Even when there's somebody else that comes along that you think you'd have a shot at getting. Let's drop Lamont Ferguson. I got to stick to my word here. If you're not going to pass, you're not going to play for Hawaii. So we'll at least drop him from the call list, right? And, well, drop him from the watch list too. We can come back to him if we really need, but go back to our emails and add this guy out of Washington who fits our style a little bit better and is a top-level camper. So, all right, Ronald Graves, welcome to the program. Probably not going to get him, but yeah, you got to take a shot every now and then. All right, so our board still looks the same. Still don't have anything left to do, no calls to make. So let's go ahead and advance here, and we'll see what's going on in Vegas. And this will tell us a lot. So, all right. I like to sort by the West region report when I can. It's not going to get everybody on our list, but, well, actually, for now, this is just a camp evaluation. Let's just go ahead and take all the regions here. Sort by overall first. As I showed you guys, you can do a sort of a prelim sort. So we'll sort by overall to start, to break ties, if you will. And then let's sort by overall. So we did learn a lot here, but we still don't have any real film or Scout Live or anything like that, and we still don't have any time. So let's just go ahead and hit this advanced recruiting again, and we can get a real fresh batch, and then we can take a look at what we've learned from Vegas. But it looks like we've learned a lot because basically everybody on our board has some evaluation now. So, all right. We're going to sort by overall rank and sort by overall grade. And the first thing I notice has got to be the first thing that you guys notice too. What is going on with Josh Bruce? This guy, his stats are nothing special. He's a point guard averaging 3.2 assists. A decent rebounder for his size. 1.5 steals. I don't mind that. It's nothing special, but you don't really want to get too much lower than that if you're a point guard. But my, oh my, an A+. So what is this saying about him? Okay. So this is saying that he's good on defense, a really good shooter, an A- scorer. If that's true, then this is somebody that we're going to want to pour a lot of time into. I'm skeptical. I'm very, very, very skeptical. But bear with me for a minute. A+ passing, A- ball handling. Looks like he's decent enough in steals to play in our 1-3-1 zone. He's, I don't know if I would say athletic enough, but it's better than like an F, right? And his defense should help in zone defense, his defensive rating. And we're 8th on the list. So we do have some legitimate powers going after this 2-star guy. So maybe there is something of note here. But we're definitely going to watch some more film because he was decent, not spectacular at Vegas. And these ratings are out of this world. So I think this is somebody that we're going to want to watch some film on and maybe even scout live. Because if this is true, we need to be committing a lot of attention to him. And if it's not true, we, not necessarily bail, but, not prioritize this 2-star guy. So we're going to watch some film on him, and we're going to scout him live. That's locked in. All right. So the next thing we're going to do, I think, is check our emails and see. That's the first thing that popped, right? I wanted to see right away what's going on with Josh Bruce. But let's check our emails and see exactly what we saw with these other camps. Who's the top 5, and then we can go from there. So, all right. All of these guys were at this camp. So that's a lot of information that we can learn. So, all right. We had some campus visits that went well, except Josh Bruce. Speak of the devil, right? Josh Bruce, we were just looking at his profile. He's an A-plus talent, but he didn't think the visit was worthwhile. That's really tough. That's tough news, especially for a guy out of the state of Hawaii, in-state guy. That's tough. But we still have cool interest. We're still in his top 10. This hasn't updated, but I would be surprised if we're not in his top 10. So we'll stick around on Josh Bruce, at least for another week or two. We'll still commit to him as if he's somebody that we really want to put some effort into. Kareem E. Unfortunately, same thing with him. Didn't think the visit was worthwhile. Nothing personal, but I think I'll look around. Well, it feels a little personal, Kareem, because you emailed me to let me know that you didn't like the time that you spent on campus. So there's nothing more personal than that. But we're not going to quit because this is a high-level camper, and he's an in-state guy, and he's a 3-star guy, and we have reason to think he might even be a little bit better than the generic star ratings think, given the fact that we paid for this report. So we're not going to quit on Kareem. Easily top 5 in the local camp. That makes sense. That jives with what we thought, or rather what we learned from the top 5 at the national camp. And look at that. Provo's making a run at him. You hate to see it. You hate to see that. Now, I'm a little bit discouraged by the fact that he's a D+ in stealing, which, as you know, is a prominent part of what we're trying to do here at Hawaii. We want to get a high-intensity 1-3-1 zone on defense. We want to force a lot of turnovers and a C- on defense. So, yes, this guy's great at inside scoring. That's excellent for the Princeton offense. He's athletic. That's great on both sides. And he can score. But, there's not a lot else in his profile that screams star. There's not a lot that screams great fit in Hawaii. But, it does scream that? Honolulu, right there. All right, we're not going to let this guy go for free. So we'll come back to Kareem, but I'm a little disappointed to see that. And let's see. Top 5 in the camp. Looks like it was Collier, Stone King, Mueller, Miller, and Graves. So we've got Graves on our list. We've got Mueller on the list. We've got Stone King on the list. Pretty sure we have Eric Miller. No, we do not have Eric Miller on the list, but he's not really interested in us. He's a 4-star guy who grades out as a C+ based on what we saw. This says that he was top 5, so it makes me think that maybe our scouts are wrong. But, they could both be right? Like, he could have performed well in this one-off simulation at camp, but still not project well as a player coming into college. That can happen. These camps are just a one-time simulation. I think that's a common misconception with people who play this game, even among veterans, that, the camps are going to tell you who's better right now, who's going to be better coming into freshman year. Can it indicate that? For sure. It can certainly suggest that. And if you're relying on camps to determine who's going to be good right off the bat, you're going to be right more often than not, I would say. But it doesn't mean everything. Just because somebody performs well at camp, if all your other peripherals are telling you that that's not a player that you want to target, then maybe that isn't somebody that you should target. It is just a one simulation, all these guys playing against each other in a one-off. So Eric Miller's a little bit of an enigma there. We do need shooting guard, but I don't think it's going to be in our interest this summer, given our financial constraints, to try to chase a guy in Utah. Shudder. You guys know how I feel about Utah, especially with Provo hot on his tail. I think we're going to stay away from Eric Miller. And then Jason Collier. Now, this is interesting. He's out of Oregon, and he's already hot on the Oregon, I don't know what are they, the Mallards? I don't know what they are. Oregon's already hot on his tail here. But this is an A+ guy who was the MVP of the West Camp. That's somebody that I think we at least make a call to, right? And we at least see if he has any interest in talking a little bit more about the program. So here we are again. We're at 50 of 50, but now we have a little bit more information to call the list. So we have one guy right here, right? D+, Ryan Simmons, out of Idaho. We did not like what we saw. He didn't stand out. He doesn't like us. He's an atrocious basketball player who can't pass and can't handle and can't block and can't steal and can't rebound and can't shoot free throws. That's enough out of Ryan Simmons for me. So let's go back to our email here. Let's add the MVP of this regional camp. Now let's start parsing through these guys, right? Let's see what we have. Let's see what we learned from this camp beyond just the top 5. So we're going to add Collier to the lists. And then I think we're going to do first off, because we don't have any scouting information from him, because we didn't have him on the list. Now we do know that he's an A+, I guess just because we were there and we saw him, but we don't really have any sort of detailed info in terms of, different things about his interest level or, what have you. So let's go ahead and watch some film on this guy, learn a little bit more, get a second look on him. And then we don't want to scout live yet because it's expensive to fly all the way to St. Paul. Not Minnesota, by the way. Don't get that confused. St. Paul, I think it's a good rodeo in St. Paul. So worth checking out if you're trying to make a road trip in Oregon. Anyway, let's text this guy. Let's see if we can initiate some interest with Jason. All right, couple quick texts. All right, he didn't want to talk about the rodeo. I put him off right away. I texted him a little hot. So we'll come back next week with Jason, or next sim rather, and talk about something other than St. Paul tourism. So all right, so we're going to sort by overall. We're going to sort by this overall. And let's see what we've got. We're just going to go one by one. I'm going to make a little note here on my own personal recruiting thing. This is something I like to do. I won't waste your guys' time too much with it, but this is something that I like to do in my own personal offline sims, is I just like to go one by one through all these guys and write down how they performed in the camp. And it's a great way in 3-4 weeks when I'm trying to figure out who I want to invite for a home visit, who I want to really zero in on as recruiting, is getting down to those final decisions when you have 25 players to choose from and you're only going to be able to contact 10 of them and you're probably only going to get 1 or 2 of them. It really helps to just have that camp info right at your fingertips and not have to go sorting through it, clicking on all these players, all that. So I'm just going to keep track here as we're going through. So Matt Taylor, we know that he's a top 5 guy because, well, actually, I don't even know if he was in the Vegas review, but we know he's a good national guy. So I'm not too concerned about that. But, all right, go through here. Didn't learn anything about Collier, but we know that Collier is a top 5 guy. So we can make a note of that so that if we're looking for a tiebreaker later, we have it. All right, Josh Bruce. Looks like he had a decent but not spectacular. So that's never really what you like to see. But, we're still interested in him. We have an A+ right here. So keep an eye on that guy. Didn't learn anything about Bob Young. Sherman Williams. All right, so we were a little interested in Sherman Williams last time, in part because I love his name. And he's a top 25 guy. So that's encouraging. All right, looking at Jason Ward. Jason Ward didn't stand out at all. So that's usually not a good sign. Now, like I said, you don't want to put too much stock in just a one-time sim. But if in the course of this sim somebody didn't even stand out, usually not going to be a good indication of how ready they're going to be to play for you right away. So Jace Ward doesn't look like he's really ready to go. Now, I am interested in potentially his long-term potential as a shooter and as a scorer. But for now, out of Wyoming, expensive to recruit him, low GPA, and he didn't stand out at camp. That's not somebody that we're going to put a ton of interest and effort into right now. So, all right, Victor Jones, he didn't stand out. Josh Henderson didn't stand out. Who else do we got here? Ben Smiley didn't stand out. Yeah, this is not ideal. All right, so who else? Is anybody actually going to stand out here? David Long's decent. Now, Kareem, we know, was in the top 5, but he also had a bad campus visit. So that's going to be somebody that's going to be a bit harder for us to wrangle down the line because of that first impression. Jeff Jameson, all right, so top 25, that's good enough for Hawaii to have some interest in you. He's out of Aurora, Oregon. I don't think they have any rodeos there, but we'll keep Jeff in mind as a top 25 guy. All right, Sean Stewart's not standing out. Archie Smith, now look at that. Archie Smith, our guy right here, top 10 at Vegas. He's a point guard. We really do need point guards. And Archie Smith is someone that I've had my eye on since the beginning of this. New Mexico, it's going to be kind of expensive to recruit this guy. 2.4 is probably going to be good enough, but we're not quite sure. But man, he does care about playing time, and I care a lot about the fact that he is an elite level passer and an elite shooter. Not a great scorer, but that's okay. You don't have to be an elite scorer to play at Hawaii. I just need you to shoot, I need you to pass, and I need you to play defense. And he does all three of those things. He sort of plays defense. But 2.2 steals a game, I'll trust his high school production there. So Archie Smith, that's someone we'll keep an eye on. Looks like Marcus Lawson was top 25. That's another guy that we'll certainly have in mind, especially because he's out of Honolulu. So look at that, Marcus Lawson. Put a little star next to his name in my personal accounting because he's out of Hawaii. So he's somebody that's going to be cheap for us to recruit, and we might actually get a chance to snag him. All right, Aaron Mueller. We've already talked about Aaron Mueller, top 5 guy, out of Hawaii. You do love to see that. And look at this. Look at how well-rounded this guy is. Do a little bit of everything. He's not athletic, but that's okay, man. When you're 6'5 and 198 and you do a little bit of everything, you have a place on our basketball team. Favors the jump shot. That works for me. We need some shooters, getting open, making cuts in the Princeton offense. Off-ball cuts, getting a pass from Maura Morrissey. I like this. I like the thought of Aaron Mueller being on the team. So it's going to be cheap to scout him. It's going to be cheap to host him. So I definitely am going to put a star next to this guy's name as a top 5 player in the camp and as somebody that we should target a little bit further. All right, Mark Jepson didn't stand out. That's not good. Langston Burris, that's another name that we've been kicking around. We invited him to check out campus. He lives nearby in Mililani, and he's a top 25 guy. So that's good. Shooting guard, we need wings. All right, who else we got here? Cortland Dyer, he's already visited. But now we're starting to get into the guys that were not good enough to get invited to this camp. Except for Marco Stoneking, look at that, top 5. But the weird thing about Marco Stoneking is that even though he was top 5 from a generic metric, right? WSSN said he was top 5 at the camp. Our coaches strongly disagree with that and think that he was brutal on defense. Not necessarily that day, but just kind of their overall impressions from watching film and watching him at the camp. Not good on defense, not really good at blocking shots or getting steals, and just not generally somebody that's going to be a high-level contributor in any specific area. So that's not encouraging, especially when we have to spend so much money to recruit this guy out of Glendale. So, all right, top 5? Sure, we'll keep an eye on him, but probably not somebody that will put all of our eggs into that basket. Jason Gordon, another top 25 guy, good enough to get on the radar, but again, his ratings don't necessarily line up with somebody that we have to be chasing. But hey, I don't mind that. Top 25, you can shoot. There's no real major area of deficiency that bothers me. He's decent on defense, so we'll keep that in mind. California kid, like to build the pipeline there. And then Ronald Graves. We know that Ronald Graves is a top 5 center, or a top 5 player rather, at center. Out of Washington, we've discussed him. I think it's unlikely that we'll get him. It's unlikely that we need him. But we'll keep an eye on Ronald. Ronald looks like that dude means all business, right? Ronald Graves is the type of guy that I'd like to go in the foxhole with, in the conference tournament. I was not proud of the way that our team performed last year when we most needed it. Ronald Graves looks like a guy who would not let me down. So maybe we'll come back around on Ronald needing the center here. All right, another top 25 guy. Shomari Evans, love that name. Shomari Evans, great inside shooter, great outside shooter, inside-outside threat, but he's not going to initiate a lot of his own offense, and he's atrocious on defense. That's not good. He's out of Hawaii, so, obligatory star, but, not somebody that I feel super confident having on the floor and not getting exposed. Bill says, I think a big question with Stoneking is the scoring. 17 points a game is good, but your scout thinks he's only a C for scoring. Graves averaging a double-double, nice, except for the F defense. So that's a good point there in terms of when you're looking. Let's just hop back for a minute, and let's go look at Stoneking, and then we'll come back to where we're at. So our scouts say that he's a C scoring, but he averaged 17 points in college. In high school, excuse me. So 17 points. It's not lighting it up per se, but it's certainly a lot more than a lot of these other guys were averaging with higher scoring ratings from our scouts. A top 5 guy in camp, decent high school stats, and yet our coaching staff is the one that thinks that he's not a scorer. I'm inclined to not believe our staff because we don't pay a lot for scouting, and our recruiting guy is not good at scouting at all, and I'm pretty sure that's what rating is being used right now to generate these grades. So it's a good point by Bill. We can't put too much focus on what our coaches are saying, and in your own personal sims, you should always have sort of that fog of war in mind, almost like an unreliable narrator situation, right? Where you can't trust your own scouting with your own coach if you don't have the rating to back it up. So you don't want to put everything, we don't want to put all your stock into WSSN. They make mistakes too, certainly. The game is built for WSSN to make mistakes. Any recruiting service out there in real life makes mistakes as well. But, this is all a guessing game. You got to know what your most educated guess is. And maybe somebody like Stone King, maybe the most educated thing would be to trust the high school stats and to trust what we saw at the Las Vegas Review. So, all right, we'll hop back here. Shamari Evans. And see if there's anybody else here that went to camp that we learned anything notable from. Joel Byams, all right, out of Hawaii. That works for me. Nice little asterisk there. Decent inside shooter, but man, this is not somebody that apparently you want to trust on defense. Now, do we trust ourselves in that assessment? I'm not sure. He did get 2.3 steals a game, 1.8 blocks. I'd like to see a little bit more, to make that determination that he's not good on defense. But that's at least a bit of a warning sign for us. So, all right, Jason Rivera, and now we're starting to get to some of the guys that I don't think were even at this camp. Wade Russell. Yeah, these are not players that were attending camp. So I think we've probably learned, yep, and we're around the horn. All right, so what did we learn from that? We already knew the top 5, obviously. We got an email about that. Archie Smith is a top 10 guy. That's a point guard. Now, it's going to cost a little bit of money for us to recruit him, but Archie Smith, I've had my eye on him from the beginning, so that's a good indication. And then we got some names for the top 25, right? Sherman Williams, Jeff Jameson, Marcus Lawson, a Hawaii kid, Langston Burris, who I believe is also a Hawaii kid, Jason Gordon, Shamari Evans, Joel Bynum's both out of Hawaii. So we do have some options. I'm feeling somewhat optimistic about what we're looking at here with recruiting. So let's start targeting some of these guys with phone calls, seeing if we can generate some interest, seeing if we can learn a little bit more about him. And then we'll invite some more players onto campus, maybe scout some players, and then go a week and see if we can get any more traction with any of these players. So Matt Taylor, right? Our guy. This is tough. It's really tough for me to give up on him. I'm not going to fully give up on him yet, but I don't think that this is going to work out with Matt. So maybe I'll learn a little bit more about his overall. Oh, all right. Matt just doesn't even want to talk. That's probably the sign that I needed. That's probably for the best. All right. So Jason Collier. Already tried to Collier and he didn't want to talk. I could try it again, but that feels a little bit like gaming the system here. So also, I think if you've already tried and he's not going to answer, pretty decent shot that if you try again, he's going to tell you to scram. Josh Bruce, though, out of Hawaii. We're already scheduling some film. We're flying out to see him. So I think at the very least, we should probably text the kid, right? And see if location is something that he cares about, playing time, all that stuff. So very important for him to play close to home. That's very important to us as well. Playing time is one of the things he's considering, but he's not concerned about prestige. All right, I think that's all I need to learn about Jason Bruce right now, because we can spend some of this time on other players, but that's huge. We now know, big on location. Well, we have an edge over everybody on that. Pretty big on playing time, and he's going to have a chance to play. And he doesn't care about prestige, which is huge because we do not have that to offer. So, all right, looking at our list here, Bob Young is somebody who has some interest in us. We got a B+ on him, and we have an 81 overall grade on this guy. So can we turn anything from this? Location is everything to him. I mean everything. Bar is maxed out, and Boise State's right there. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. But man, Bob Young is a good player. So I think we should at least see if we can continue the conversation with him. Oh, well, there you go. You know what? I don't want to talk to you either, Bob. Yeah, no thank you. All right, Sherman Williams is one of our only in-state guys on the board that does not have interest in Hawaii. Now, if you go here, back to our emails, I can't remember. Did he already visit us? No, I don't think he did. Kareem's visit did not go well, and that, unfortunately, explains why Kareem has dropped us off his list. Go right here. Sort by that, sort by that. Yeah, so Kareem, you see right here, there's no interest even though he's visited. But Sherman has not visited. So let's see if we can get him on the phone. He's definitely somebody that we should have in the mix. All right. Doesn't want to talk. Okay, well, we'll come back to Sherman. Maybe we'll scout him live, something like that. Kareem, I'm really bummed about, though. And I don't think we quit here because location is everything to this guy. So let's see if we can get him back on the phone. All right, perfect. Reinitiated. And prestige is not a concern to him. Facilities, all right, we can't learn about that. But that's good to know. That's actually huge to know. Kareem is not going to dump us just for some high prestige school. And he really does value location, and nobody can come close to that, relative to what we can offer a kid out of Honolulu. So I think we scout this guy. This is going to be one of our top targets. I really like what I'm seeing with the scoring, the athleticism. I don't love this quartet of red down here, but I also don't trust our scouts that much. And he was top 5, the Las Vegas Review. His name's been popping up everywhere. So I think we scout this kid. I think we watch a little more film, maybe to clarify our scouting opinion of him. And then we go from there. So going down the list a little bit more, if there's anybody else that we want to talk to, maybe Jeff Jameson, point guard, really good passer. But I'm not feeling optimistic that we're going to be able to land him. So I think he might be somebody that we sort of circle back to if we need. Archie Smith is somebody I'd like to watch more film on because I'm very intrigued by this profile that he has here. But it's going to be really expensive to recruit this guy. So let's see what the deal is with him with location. It's all about playing close to home for Archie Smith. Okay. On one hand, that's great because we're in the West region. But on the other hand, makes a little more sense why he's got so many New Mexico schools up high. Team prestige. All right, he doesn't want to talk about that, and we ran out of time. So look at that, though. New Mexico, number 1. New Mexico State, number 2 for our man Archie Smith, who has location maxed out. Number 3 is Nevada. I mean, this is tough. I don't know if this is going to be worth our pursuit. I think we're going to have to circle back on Archie Smith as somebody, to chase if this doesn't go well. And Marcus Lawson is another name, Hawaii kid. We're not on his list right now, but he's a good passer, good scorer, decent enough on defense with the athleticism that we like. We can't text him to initiate anything, but we could scout this guy live. And, Marcus Lawson was in the top 25 from the West Camp, and he's one of the only guys in the top 25 who's local and who fits a position of need. It's going to be cheap for us to recruit. So I'm thinking maybe we scout him live. I think he might be the best use of that. I'm not seeing any other Hawaii-based players that we're not already deciding to scout live, unless it's Sherman. Maybe that's the way that we reinitiate with him. But, Sherman was top 25. Marcus Lawson was top 25. I would argue I'm a little bit more excited about what I've seen from Marcus Lawson. So let's go to the West Region Premium Report here that we paid so much for. And let's sort by overall, and just see if maybe the order is a bit reversed on some of this. So we still have Sherman up high on this one. And where is our guy Marcus Lawson? He's down here. They're both 4-star guys according to this. But look at that. 84 overall for Sherman. 11 overall for Marcus Lawson on this list. And that jives with this. So we're seeing some more kind of recruiting report confidence in Marcus Lawson. He's an 18-point-a-game scorer. I think we go ahead and just scout this guy live. Watch some film on him. It can't hurt. Watch some film on Sherman Williams, too. Watch some film on some guys that we'd like to learn a little bit more about. Try to separate from the pack. So we're already watching film on Kareem. And anybody else, maybe, that we're interested in. Aaron Mueller. He's somebody that was top 5. I probably should have saved our visit for him, right? But we'll come around on him. I feel really good about maybe pursuing this guy and getting him to add us to the list, but it's tough that we're not even in the top 10. So we'll watch some film on him, and we'll definitely go to visit Aaron Mueller after we advance here, because he's somebody that, was a top 5 guy locally in the regional camp, and we should definitely focus our efforts on him. So who else do we want to watch some film on here? I am curious to learn more about Bob Young, see if that's something that we should be doing, trying to chase him. David Long is another in-state guy. Watch some film on him. And then just see anybody else here popping, right? We've already gotten visits from these 3, and nothing really standing out. Anthony Christian, decent scorer, nice passer out of Hawaii. You got all these good schools that are trying to get him. Maybe let's see, are we missing something here? Maybe we are. All right, and then let's hand out these campus visits to see who we can bring and try to generate a little more interest from. So unfortunately, a lot of these guys are not interested in Hawaii right now, so that doesn't help. But David Long is, I'm maybe going to sort by here because I don't exactly trust our ratings here. So Marcus Lawson is somebody, but you don't want to bring somebody onto campus if they already don't want to be there, right? Mueller, same situation. So David Long, I think we asked him to come. Figured he would say yes to that invite. And then going down the list, Burris has already visited. All these guys who are interested have already visited. Byams is a top 25 guy, so let's bring him in. And then, not a lot of names that are really, relevant to us and interesting to bring onto campus. So we might just have to fire one off to somebody that's going to be cheap and, that we're not going to regret spending the money. So I guess that's probably just going to be one of these two. Maybe Sean Kent. Sean Kent, we're number 2 on his list. That's great to see. Reggie Owens, we're not. So let's have Sean Kent, pretty nice name there, and bring him onto campus. All right. So that's what that looks like. That was a pretty big week, right? We saw what we wanted to see from the West Review, the Las Vegas Review, for the West region. Learned a lot about these guys, and unfortunately had some missteps with some of our top targets here. So let's advance. This is just going to advance a regional camp, so it's going to show up as if it's not moving on, and it's not. So we'll continue to advance again to get past that. There's another regional camp. There's a big week for camps. And then we'll take our shot here and see what resonated with these guys. So I was feeling optimistic at the beginning of this week. I'm still feeling decent. I feel as though we have some options. But some of these top players are really not interested in us. All right, we'll go to the inbox, see what we can learn here. Not really interested in any of this. The recap, maybe some of you in your sims are interested in looking at the regional recaps for other camps not in your region. But personally, if I know I don't have the money to spend out here, I don't even care. I'm not really interested in this. Sean Kent was impressed. Byams was impressed. David Long was not. Okay. So David Long, local kid that I wasn't even really interested in. He's not interested in me. That sounds like somebody that I shouldn't be spending $5 to call every week. So where are you at, David Kent? I don't even want to talk to you anymore. Looks like we're sorting by he's not even on our premium report here. Or is it David Long? Yeah, David Long. You know what? So long. I don't really want to. Decent. No interest coming to our school. Not on the list. Get out of here. Not going to call. I'll leave him on the watch list. But all right. So we didn't really learn anything that week. But now we have a fresh batch of time to call these players. We can't scout them. We can't host them. But we can watch some film and we can call them. So first off, did we learn anything about these players that we were trying to decide between? So let's sort by overall. Marcus Lawson is a B. All right, I think that was pretty similar to what he was before. Mueller. All these guys kind of settle into the B minus here for Kareem E. Sherman Williams dropped a little. Archie Smith, but nothing really standing out here. So Josh Bruce, though. Josh Bruce is someone that I was curious because I didn't really believe the profile. And look at that, right? He was an A+ last week. Now he's down to a B-. But the thing is I still actually like his profile here. He's a good passer, he's a good scorer, good ball handler, good shooter. So I'm going to watch film on him again because I really am not discouraged by what I've seen here at all. So, Josh Bruce, maybe I'll call him if we have some time at the end of this recruiting week, but definitely going to keep watching some film on him and at some point maybe just pull the trigger. Marco Stone King, it doesn't look like we really learned anything here, but again, I don't really trust that, so let's watch some more film to kind of narrow our recruiting focus and our recruiting scope on him, try to get a little more accurate. And then now we have these guys who aren't even sorted by our overall. Should probably watch a little film, maybe watch some film on this kid out of Alaska, watch some film on any of these. Anybody have any stats that are notable? This kid's going for 11 and 10. Maybe we'll watch him. This guy's got a lot of steals, but he's a JUCO and he's not even interested. There's not a lot here that is worth watching film on. So we'd probably save that for, the Marcus Lawsons and, maybe the Jeff Jamesons, because I'd like to learn a little bit more about him. Maybe the Sean Stewarts, the Kareemies, the Sherman Williamses, and the Archie Smiths. Now, let's go down to Aaron Mueller, because he's somebody, right, that I said I want to initiate interest with. Top 5 guy in Vegas, in our home state. This has to be someone that needs to pick up the phone for us. He's not going to. All right, we'll try again next week. But, man, we have got to start getting Aaron Mueller on the phone. Sherman Williams, same thing. We really need him to demonstrate some interest. He played at Hawaii Prep. What more do you want? But not getting it out of him. Kareem, come on, man, just answer the phone. Nah. All right, that's tough. That is tough. Jeff Jameson, out of Aurora. Is there anything going here? Nope, nothing going there. Where's this other kid? Jason Collier, out of Oregon. I won't mention the rodeo this time. Come on. Nope, nothing out of Collier. That's tough. Somehow Matt Taylor's still taking our calls. Matt Taylor loves talking to us. Yeah, what do you think about discipline? What do you think about education? Yeah, he's not really interested in any of that stuff. He's not going to school for the school. He wants to play professional basketball. All right, well, that's a bummer. Nobody wants to talk to us, and there's nothing we can do this week. So, I think we try to initiate some interest with one other guy. If there's anybody that we can call or maybe just learn a little bit more about. Let's just come back to Bruce, right? He was someone that we said would be worth it if we had some time left. Well, we have some time left. What does he think about conference prestige? All right. Facilities, that's really important to him, and that's probably why he didn't really like the campus visit, because our facilities are not great. So that's a bummer. Education, all right, well, we learned a lot about Josh Bruce, but not a lot of players learned much about us. So, tough week for recruiting. We'll get an advance past this and see. We're in a dead period. But right after this dead period comes the evaluation stage. And that is nice to just get another shot to kind of come at these guys and just generate some more interest. So let's do one more scan here and then we'll call it a week. But let's see if we can just generate a little bit more interest from some of these players. So let's do the same thing here, right? Let's go to Aaron Mueller, who's among our top players on the board. Aaron, will you play for us? No, he will not. He will not even answer our text messages. Kareem, we're sorry about the campus visit. You shouldn't have checked out the facilities. Check out something else. There we go. Kareem's back. Kareem is back on our radar. All right, well, let's talk about everything while you're here. Oh, well, all right. But we at least initiated a little bit. That's huge. Kareem is somebody that we feel, maybe we can get out of Honolulu. That's massive. All right, Marcus Lawson, same deal, right? Can we just initiate? Nope. Can't get it there. But that's all right. I'm feeling good about Kareem at least taking our call. Anybody else here? Maybe Collier. Can we get Collier to finally answer? Not going to happen with Jason. All right. Nobody else that we really... Maybe Sherman. Get Sherman back on the line. Nope. Can we get Marco Stone King? Have we learned anything about Marco Stone King? Not really anything super interesting, and he doesn't want to talk to us. Man, this is tough. This is starting to feel a little bit like last summer, that first recruiting period where we could not get anybody on the phone, couldn't get anybody to visit, couldn't get anybody to do anything. So, okay, Josh Henderson, we watched some film on him, the kid out of Alaska, and we learned a lot. We learned that he's a B overall, and I feel decent about this profile. We'll watch some more film, but let's recruit him because he might be somebody that is being lightly recruited. Yeah, he answered our call right away. So, what is interesting to you? All right, playing very close to home is very important to him. That is tough for a kid out of Palmer, Alaska, but I think he's really going to like what he sees in Hawaii. So, all right, playing time. That's something we can't necessarily offer a lot to him. Good, he doesn't really care. Conference prestige also doesn't care. Okay, well, that's a good start. We don't have any time left to talk to this kid. Have to abruptly end our text conversation. He's probably going to think we ghosted him. But Josh Henderson, kid out of Alaska, might be somebody, especially at 6'8", 201. I know he's a power forward, but at that size, sometimes you can kind of convert them to a small forward, especially in our system. So I don't hate seeing that. So with the film that we have left, let's watch a little bit more on these in-state kids. Let's see if Kareem is the real deal, somebody we want to keep recruiting. Let's see Archie Smith, Jeff Jameson. Are these guys that we should spend money out of state to be chasing? Spoiler alert, probably not. But let's just see. We had a visit with Cortland Dyer that went well. We had a visit with Sean Kent that went well. We had a visit with Anthony Christian that went well. So let's see if those guys are worth it. And then let's initiate some contact by scouting live. So Anthony Mueller, you won't answer our calls? Well, you're not going to be able to say no to us flying to watch you play in high school. So, we'll do that with Mueller. Probably do that with Lawson as well. And then, we could come down and keep chasing Sherman Williams, who's a top 25 guy. But I'm not ready to quit on Kareem E. And then, can we host anybody? Is there anybody that likes us and wants to check out campus? Maybe Bob Young. It's probably not worth the money. We only, it costs us $750 to invite him, and we only have $20,000 to work with. It's probably not worth it, especially because we're not on his list. But maybe that's something that we consider at some point. But we got to find somebody who's already interested in us before we have them visit. And I'm not really seeing it, right? Archie Smith, maybe. We're not on his list, but we're somewhere in the mix. But I don't think it's going to go well because he really, really, really likes New Mexico and probably wants to stay there. So maybe we won't waste the money on that. See if there's any other Hawaii kids that we'll take. Yeah, John Johnson. You know what? Come check out campus. I know you've probably seen it a million times. Reggie Owens, welcome to campus. All expenses paid, right down the door. Or right down the road, excuse me. We're right next door to you. And anybody else? I don't really see anybody that feels like they're worth the effort. Maybe Lawrence Maddox, good outside shooter. He likes us. Well, for a day, we like you as well. All right. So that will probably do it on those guys. Maybe we'll watch a little film on Maddox since he is coming on to campus. We'll advance here to get past the summer camp. And we will advance one more time to get past this summer camp. And then we'll advance one more time to bring us back to a nice clean screen for the next time we come around here. So, on this next advance, you look up here, it is July 31st. Why is that significant? Well, for one, look at that. Jason Collier finally interested in us. Look at that. Josh Henderson's got some interest out of Alaska. This is starting to come together. So July 31st. Why does that matter? We are closing in on August. And August is the month right before the contact period. So we're going to be in a quiet period now for about a month and a half. We were in the evaluation, then it was dead, then it was evaluation. Now we have, 5 weeks of just calling and making the pitch, right? We're not going and scouting anybody live. We're not really inviting anybody on campus because we can't afford to invite anybody not in Hawaii, and everybody in the state has already checked out our campus. So this is going to be a lot of calls and a lot of preparation before that big month stretch, and particularly that big week stretch from September 11th to September 18th, where you seal the deal with in-home visits. So coming up on a pretty notable period here. Hopefully we'll be able to close the deal with some of these guys. Don't have a ton of, no warm interest here, which is somewhat to be expected at this stage. But the cools are starting to pop up, and I'm starting to feel a little bit optimistic that maybe we will be able to get somebody that's worth our while. So that'll do it for this week's episode. For next week's stream, we're going to do just the same thing you're looking at here, a little more recruiting, and we're probably going to get to that contact period, that in-home visit stage, which changes absolutely everything in recruiting. So definitely excited for next week's episode. 2 things before we go. 1, you know what, I say it every week, but that's because it means so much to us. Please, 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 please subscribe to our Twitch channel if you have not already. If you have Amazon Prime, you can get 1 free subscription just by linking it with your Twitch account. So if you haven't done that, please go ahead and do that. Everybody has Amazon Prime by this point, or most of you probably do. So link it with your Twitch account. Use that subscription on us. It would mean a lot to me, a lot to Gary, a lot to the entire team at Wolverine Studios. And the offer stands. I will find you a really, really cheap flight to Hawaii. Cheap relative to the cost of flying to Hawaii. But I will find you the cheapest on the market. I have my ways. I have my sources. So take me up on that, please. If you shoot me a screenshot of you subscribing to Twitch, I will get you into paradise. And the second thing, tomorrow, #Franchise Friday. Don't forget to post about your teams and your careers. What's going on with you guys? Are you having any more luck than I am in the recruiting period? Maybe some of you guys are playing the pro basketball game as we're kind of getting excited about what Pro Basketball 23 looks like. Maybe some of you are hot on the recruiting trail in the college football game. Maybe some of you in the pro football game, with the offseason now kind of building up. I know a lot of leagues are recruiting people to join those. I just joined a pro football league for Pro Football 2022. So let us know what's going on in your leagues and your sims. Would love to hear about that. So post about that tomorrow, #Franchise Friday. And if you ever want to reach out to me directly, you know where to find me on Twitter and Twitch @CJacksonCowart. Find me on our Discord server or anywhere on the Wolverine Studios forums.